Spider-Man Far From Home has finally released its official trailer, and it looks like Tom Holland wanted to take a trip to Europe, so they figured, might as well just knock out the next Spider-Man sequel while we're at it. Why? Because there's too many dang Spider-Man movies. They do not stop. Anytime they decide an actor's no longer good for the character, they just immediately swap out to the next one, and then there's alternate universe Spider-Man movies that are actually really good, and I like them. But then we gotta go back to the fact that, well, no, we need live-action Spider-Man again, except this time he doesn't have a suit because Tom Holland is Tom Holland and we love Tom Holland and Tom Holland's amazing as Spider-Man. Okay, alright, we get it. So yes, today I'll be giving you my thoughts on the Far From Home trailer coming out this July. Let's begin. So yeah, as I said, Peter Parker is taking a trip to Europe, and it appears that things get a little bit crazy, and it already seems to be, in my opinion, a film that looks like it's trying to take Spider-Man to new heights. But here's the problem. What I liked about Spider-Man Homecoming was the fact that it was kind of very simple, and it was a much smaller story. There were big action scenes, and there were a lot of really, really intense moments, but it wasn't, shooting the blue laser into the sky, and it wasn't, this is gonna end the world. It was like a smaller story that was just showcasing a couple of characters doing some basic plot lines, whereas Far From Home is now starting to feel like they want it to be more of the, this villain's going to destroy Earth and now the entire planet's in danger and only Spider-Man can save them, and it's just kind of making it into a bigger story than the first movie, which, when making a Spider-Man sequel, we know you kind of have to do that. You have to take it to new heights. You don't want to act like it's a smaller film than the first one. You want everyone to get the impression that the film franchise is getting bigger and things are getting more important. So they're definitely making an effort to do that while also trying to recap what people liked about the first film. So we're still seeing Aunt May is attractive and everyone wants to date Aunt May, including Jon Favreau, who was the director for a lot of these films at the beginning and now appears to be like a returning character, which is kind of funny to me. But didn't Jon Favreau direct Iron Man 2, which at various points took place in Europe, and then now Jon Favreau's in Spider-Man 2 and that's taking place in Europe. I'm noticing parallels, okay? I'm making the connection. It's Marvel 10 years. They're just gonna loop what Iron Man was, except this time, hopefully Spider-Man 2 is actually good, unlike Iron Man 2, which was But of course, Peter Parker's friends are back. He seems to be getting closer and more intimate with MJ. That's right, we completely forgot the first love interest at the beginning of the movie because she moved away. Everyone was shipping it and they were like, oh, they're so cute together. But her nickname's MJ, so he's got to pursue her. She's obviously the better one. So it appears we're going to be shipping those two in this film, and shockingly, a very little amount of Tony Stark was mentioned, even on the check that Happy is holding in the trailer. You notice that it says Pepper and not Tony Stark on it. So that brings me to the biggest problem I think I have with this trailer. It's not the trailer itself. The movie looks fine, doesn't particularly look that interesting. It looks like, once again, Marvel's kind of overusing CG, and there's gonna be a villain, and Jake Gyllenhaal is showing up. Cool. Because Marvel has a giant list of actors, right? And they're looking at the list going like, well, who's not in the MCU yet? Pretty much, we got everyone. I think we have every actor that has ever acted in the MCU. Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal. I guess we didn't get him. Yeah, we'll get him in the next one. Nothing against Jake Gyllenhaal, just like, hey, he's there now. Okay, cool. But Kevin Feige has confirmed that Far From Home takes place after Avengers 3 and 4. And this is where I have problems with the fact that this trailer exists. That's my biggest complaint. I don't know if you guys have seen Infinity War or not. If you haven't, why do you care about spoilers at this point? I'm just spoiling it for you. Half the Avengers die at the end of Infinity War, right? And Endgame has not come out yet. And I'm excited to see what happens in Avengers Endgame. Did a whole video on that trailer analysis, but doesn't anyone else kind of see that releasing this trailer is a bit of a spoiler? We saw Spider-Man die. We saw Nick Fury die. And then you go ahead and release a trailer months before Endgame comes out showing that both Nick Fury and Spider-Man are alive. So even if you wanted to make the case of, well, we don't know what happens in Avengers Endgame. Maybe they had to sacrifice themselves and Spider-Man is alive, but maybe not everyone made it. Well, the fact that Nick Fury's in the trailer essentially means all of the stakes, all of the problems we had with Infinity War, the biggest one being, half the universe is gone. That was a very powerful moment for a lot of viewers out there, like, who couldn't believe their eyes. Like, people passed out and had heart attacks in the movie theater during that scene. And the fact that now Sony's releasing this trailer with the Marvel branding and acting like everything's fine, clearly he's not dead and neither is Nick Fury, is like kind of I get that a lot of you out there are like, well, of course they're not dead. We knew they weren't dead. We all knew the snap wasn't going to mean anything. But I would like at least Marvel to play along with the idea that these stakes are in fact real. The fact that they're releasing this trailer and full out saying this is not a prequel, you know, this takes place after Avengers 4, is kind of them just acting like nothing in Infinity War actually mattered. It's marketing that just says, who cares? No one actually believed us anyway, which essentially means the stakes for Endgame are incredibly low now. There's no anticipation, there's no hype, because I know that whatever happens in Endgame, it's gonna result in probably Tony Stark dead, Steve Rogers dead, and Spider-Man and Nick Fury go back. So there's gonna be some type of time travel, and this trailer confirms all that. You know, before, us fans and us people on the internet got to, like, theorize and speculate, you know, like, are they actually coming back, or are they dead for good? Maybe certain people can come back, and maybe certain people can't, and in Endgame we're gonna find out who they can save and who they can't save. With this trailer coming out now, it completely demolishes all that. Now we have no idea. Now it's just, yeah, they make it. They reverse time and they'll be fine. There's no suspense anymore. And to a certain extent, you know, I understand that enjoying a film can come from the journey that's involved and how everything plays out and seeing that experience. But particularly when you end your film on such a huge cliffhanger, I think not knowing what's going to happen in the next film is very, very key to that film's enjoyment. And the fact that they're just kind of throwing it all away and saying, no, it doesn't matter, they're all gonna make it out anyway, means that Endgame is just kind of factual backup. It's just, you watch Endgame to be like, okay, did they use time travel? Yep, they used time travel. Cool. They undid it, everything. So in regards to the film itself, because, you know, my biggest problem with this trailer is that they're releasing it and that it exists, and I wish they would have related till after Endgame to release this trailer. Would that have been so hard? There were a lot of things I enjoyed about Spider-Man Homecoming. You know, I've watched it since it came out in the theaters, and I thought it's definitely the most MCU appropriate Spider-Man I've seen. It's much better than the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, which I didn't like very much, and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is hilarious in its own regard, but doesn't really fit in with the tone and style they're going with at the MCU, and I just hope that when they make the Spider-Man sequel, they can make it a bit more charismatic and not too much formulaic. Marvel has bad experience with the number 2, you know, like Iron Man 2 was definitely a low point for the MCU, as was Thor 2, The Dark World. It was very forgettable. Not a lot of people liked it. I suppose Captain America did break the tradition a little bit with Winter Soldier, but it's almost a completely different film from the first one because it takes place in a completely different time period, so they had more wiggle room to make things fresh and unique and not the same as the first one. But Spider-Man 2, and them not addressing the events of Avengers, I think will feel incredibly lackluster, particularly after Endgame comes out. If that ends up happening and it's this giant cataclysmic event and then we just go back to regular, everyday, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has to fight some villains, it's gonna feel very by the book. So I'm not overly pumped about it. Am I excited for Tom Holland and the other actors to all come back and hopefully have some good chemistry? Sure, but at the end of the day, still wish this trailer just didn't exist. But those are my thoughts on the matter. What did you guys think of the Far From Home trailer? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have an excellent day. Take care.